A cover stitch machine is commonly used to sew professional finishes on hems, especially on knit fabrics. It creates secure, even, stretchable stitches that move with the fabric. Like an overlock machine, it can also be used to attach lace, elastic, and other trims to a garment. Unlike an overlock machine, it is not set up with a blade to trim away excess fabric. This Consew 3-needle cover stitch is set up with 2 top stitch needles and 1 lower looper. The top stitch needles create stitch lines on the right side of the garment, and on the wrong side of the fabric, the looper thread covers the surface between these straight stitches. Threading of the machine always takes place from right to left, starting with the lower looper and then the top stitch needles. Starting with the lower looper, bring the woolly nylon thread up through the thread guide on the cone stand and then feed through the eyelets on the horizontal thread guide bar. Thread through the angled stationary thread guide plate, then down through the narrow metal tube. You may need to use a threading tool for this step. Come down through the 2 thread guides before the tension plates, flossing under and through the tension plates in a clockwise direction, then through the next stationary thread guide. Open the front cover and slide open the diagonal top plate to expose the inner threading for the lower looper. Travel the thread through a stationary thread guide, under and through a small set of tension plates, then across 3 more thread guides, the middle of which must cross through the gap above a rotating disc, so you may need to spin the flywheel to clear this space for threading. Move through 2 more stationary thread guides, then spin the flywheel to bring the lower looper into view. Using tweezers or a threading tool, feed the thread through the small hole at the right-hand side of the looper, bringing the thread out along the front groove of the looper. Thread the eye of the looper from front to back and pull your thread tail out towards the back of the machine. Close up the front and top plates, and next we'll move on to the top stitch needles. This machine is currently set up with needles in the first and third stitch channels. Bring the threads up through their individual thread guides on the cone stand and down towards the machine, making sure to follow the guides for the first and third needles. The machine does have color-coded guides throughout the threading path of the upper needles, so make sure to follow the right colors for each thread. Bring each thread through their own set of stationary guides and tension plates, again remembering to wrap under and around these plates in a clockwise direction. Feed each thread through their own eyelet in the stationary guide to the right of the small protruding box. By lifting the lid to this box, we can see a small felt pad which the thread travels across. Feed each thread through their own eyelet in the guide to the left of this box, then bring the threads through the 3-tiered guide rods with an eyelet at the top of each post. Next, travel through the thread guides on the take-up lever, then up through another, less visible take-up lever guide, which is slightly concealed by the metal cover atop the machine, then down through 2 more stationary guides. Floss the thread between the crossbar and the small metal tension plate, then travel around and behind the wire atop the needle bar. Lastly, thread each needle from front to back, making sure the groove of each needle is facing forward. With the threading complete, bring the thread tails together towards the back of the machine. With the presser foot raised, bring your fabric up towards the feed dogs, then lower the foot onto the fabric and begin sewing. As the cover stitch is most commonly used for hemming, this machine, unlike the Juki cover stitch on the other side of the table, does not have a built-in hem width guide, so you may need to keep a ruler on hand to establish your reference point on the machine when aligning your hem. With your hem pre-folded, flip your work so that the right side of the garment is facing upward and the raw edge of the hem is in line with the presser foot and needles. When you keep the raw edge in line with the stitches, they become neatly encased within the stitch width.